So let's go ahead and head back to the castle. See if Garday's back from the tomb. If so, let's see if we've got any new information from her.
Hi, did you have a good time?
Uh-huh. Anything new?
Yes, you had a phone call.
Really?
A man named Professor Barkley. He said you had his number.
I do. Thanks.
Well, they certainly are friendly again. But Barkley apparently called, and that was the dude that Grace called at the end of Chapter 2 in order to get some information about Ludwig, that whatever he knew. So let's go ahead and go into the shot and jogger's office. Do some shot and jogging. And let's see, we need to call Professor Barkley. So we have his card right here. Use it on the hello phone. And go, hello! Hello, Barkley, hello!
Hello?
Hi, Professor Barkley. It's Grace.
Oh, good. I have a name for you. It's Herr Josef Dahlmeier, and he specializes in Bavarian history, and I think he's somewhere near you are.
Herr Josef Dahlmeier. Great, got a number?
Yeah, I do. It's 4982-555-2234.
Thanks a lot. Sorry about the bother.
That's no bother. When are you coming back to school, Gracie?
When I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Well, be good.
Man, I nailed that scene. Nailed it so good. But we have a new name. No, that's the museum ticket. We should look at the museum ticket. Ooh.
A ticket to the Ludwig Museum.
I guess that'd be just in case you'd have to go back. We're never going back there again. Just spoiler alert.
Professor Barkley's Ludwig contact.
Well, why don't we go ahead and give that a ring-a-ding-ding.
Hallo?
Hallo, sind Sie Herr Josef Dahlmeier?
Yeah, you must be Grace Nakamura, the American history student.
Yes,
I hear you're interested in Ludwig II.
very.
Good. There's something I want to show you. Drive to Berg on Starnberger See. Meet me at the Memorial Chapel.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait. Was there anything you wanted me to look into before we meet?
Well, I was hoping you knew something about someone called the Black Wolf. He was a contemporary of Ludwig's. He lived in Prussia, I think, and he was well connected.
Never heard of him, but I'll check. See you there.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, we've got more contacts. Grace is just building up her own, network of people, isn't she? So we have a guy that we can go speak to about Ludwig. But first, we don't need to speak to Gertie. She has nothing really to say at the moment. But first, let's go and get a little bit more information about the other man that apparently now has a role to play. And let's go ahead and go to the Wagner Museum.
Grüß Gott.
Guten Tag. Ist das die Wagner Museum?
Ja, you're an American, aren't you? I'm afraid the house is closed this time of year. It will be open next month.
Crap.
You are interested in Wagner?
Very interested. Very recently very interested.
Yeah. Most of the house is closed for cleaning, but a few rooms are open. I shouldn't let you probably, but if it is only you, you are alone, aren't you?
Endlessly.
Come in and look over.
That's very generous. What do I owe you?
Georg Imeding. Oh, it's only a few displays. Besides, I wouldn't be much of a shining knight if I charged you.
Thanks, Georg. My name is Grace.
Hello. Have a good time.
I don't know if that's the best impression to make on somebody. Be like, are you alone? Always! I've always loved. So lonely. That music's loud.
Wagner's piano. On this piano, the maestro composed his later operas, including The Ring.
Oh, Wagner was the one to blame for The Ring. What about The Ring, too? Was that his fault as well?
Franz Liszt, composer and Cosima Wagner's father.
Neat.
Richard Wagner.
He got that, like, whole neck beard going on right there.
Richard.
Yeah, I know who it is. I'm trying to click the thing.
An old sofa.
The Death of Wagner. On Ash Wednesday, 1883, Wagner suffered a heart attack in a Venetian gondola on the way to San Michele. His wife and the gondolier carried him into a church where he regained consciousness. Wagner died 4 days later on this sofa.
Damn.
Wagner's death mask.
Is there anything we can click over here? Ooh.
It's a letter from a Monsieur Beaujolais, dated September 1881. Looks like he's discussing acoustics and sound waves, and crystals. Wasn't Wagner's Bayreuth Theater already built? Why would Wagner be worrying about acoustics? It looks like an architectural drawing of a theater. The Wittelsbacher Theater, München. Every square inch is measured.
I was going to say there was a plaque.
Wagner's desk, exactly as it was on the day he died. It looks rather simple considering the grandiose stuff Wagner composed here. It looks rather simple.
I was hoping we could, like, rifle through it and find, like, some change. So there's the death mask, so there's that.
Ludwig as the classical Greek hero.
The great patron himself.
Is there anything to read there? Nope. Ooh, new room.
This must be a model of Wagner's own theater, here in Bayreuth. Opera costumes. These look like production designs. These look like production designs.
Those look like production designs, which I'm guessing they're production designs. So is that everything in this room? I think that takes us right back around. Let me just double check to make sure that we saw everything. There's this room. Which leads... Does this lead back into that room? Yes, okay, that leads there. This leads there. Which that goes back there. Yeah, okay, we've seen everything. But we want to speak to, Georg.
What are you doing here if the museum is closed?
They always like to have a caretaker here. It's a good job for me. I can soak in the atmosphere of the maestro while I compose.
What are you composing?
This? Oh, a new arrangement. One of Wagner's pieces.
For the Bayreuth Opera?
No. I am only a student at the university. I study music, composition, conducting.
But were you?
Is there much of a call for conductors in Europe?
Ask my brother. He is the conductor for the Munich Opera.
Well, that's convenient. Does that mean you get free opera tickets?
Yes. I get a week's pass to the Opernfestspiele, the opera festival in Munich. It starts in a few months.
Hope I'm still around to see it.
Come with me if you like. If you're still around, I can go backstage and all sorts of things.
I'd love that. If I'm still in Germany, I'll call you, all right?
Yeah, good.
They totally are hitting on each other.
Tell me about Wagner.
He was a character. He spent most of his life trying to convince rich patrons to subsidize his work. Unfortunately, he had expensive tastes. You see, he believed that someone of his genius deserved to live well. Can't argue with that.
But Ludwig II supported him, didn't he?
Yeah, sure, but Ludwig came along very late in Wagner's life. By then, he had already been run out of Venice and most major cities because of debt. Ludwig saved him. And the music. Best thing Ludwig ever did.
Have you ever heard about the letter that Ludwig wrote to the Munich conductor in 1882 telling him to prepare for a new Wagner opera?
You're full of surprises for an American.
What do you know about it?
No one knows anything about it. It's like a treasure map, you know? It's probably a complete fairy tale, but it does make you wonder.
You have no idea what it could have referred to? Maybe something that Wagner was working on with Ludwig?
If there was, there's no trace of it. Except perhaps in the dreams of unemployed music students.
That seems to be all we can do for now, which we may have to come back here later. Who knows? But let's go ahead and leave and then go meet up with our yet another historian. This would be like the third history place that we've been to so far. And we'll see what he has to say. Ooh, this looks creepy. And she walks very slowly. Oh, we just skip all the way there. But let's see what it's like. Let's get a glimpse of the view, which goes back over to this way. It's still going.
This is where he died. You must be Grace. Herr Dahlmeier.
Hello.
Josef. I didn't mean to startle you. I wanted you to see it. I feel him here the most, you know, more than at the castle. So, what did you want to know?
And we have a literal ton of stuff to talk about. This chapter is mainly, like, as the chapters go on, things slowly get more in depth. I think chapter 4 by far is the most tedious, where you have a lot of talking, a lot of fact getting, but it all culminates to a point. Like, all of this stuff has a point.
Professor Barclay says your hobby is Ludwig.
Yes. He was the last real king that Bavaria had. As a Bavarian and a history buff, well, that's enough to hook me right there.
But there's more, right?
He was a romantic, you know. A dreamer. And he was misunderstood, maligned.
Sounds like you can relate.
Me? Hell, I have it easy. At least I live in the 1990s. And not every eye in the country is on me. But yes, I can relate.
Good old 90s.
You know about Ludwig's diary, right?
Of course.
How can I get my hands on it?
I'm sorry. I have been trying myself for 5 years. They keep it locked up tight in the royal archives, and they don't let it out. They must think it contains things that will hurt his image.
They won't let anyone see it, not ever?
Only one person outside of the government ever got to see it, a biographer, Sir Richmond Chapel. He had friends among the German royals, and they let him look at it.
Did you ever try to contact Chapel? Pick his brain?
No, and I don't believe I never thought of that. If you do and you find out anything, you must share.
It's a promise. Tell me about Ludwig.
I don't know where to start. There's so much. Politically, the most significant thing about Ludwig II was that he signed over independent Bavarian statehood to Prussia in 1870. Bavaria became a part of United Germany, and Ludwig became a figurehead prince under the Prussian Kaiser.
Why do you think he did that?
Bavaria had been involved in the 100 Years' War. People were tired of fighting. Prussia's push to unite the German states made some amount of sense. Still, Ludwig must have had other options. At the very least, he should have negotiated better terms.
So what was the real reason?
He was manipulated by Bismarck. At least that's what I think, anyway.
What about Ludwig personally?
You'll find two perspectives on Ludwig. The view the tourists get is the romantic ideal, Ludwig the tormented loner. Then there is the historian's point of view. Ludwig was plagued with guilt over his sexual orientation and was driven mad with self-loathing.
But I take it you're not buying either point of view.
Well, it's all too convenient, isn't it? That he was a devout Catholic, there is no question, and I'm sure there were pressures on him to be normal. But he was no prude. He loved Byron. Yes. Philosophy, the French court. If anything, Ludwig was too much an egomaniac. He didn't give a damn what anyone thought. And besides, he didn't try to hide any of his relationships. If he suffered from anything in his romantic life, it was disillusionment. No one loved him back as purely as he himself loved.
Well, if it wasn't sexual guilt that tormented him, what was it?
I don't know. His diary was filled with self-guilt, but I'm sure it's not about that. If I knew, I'd write my own book, set the record straight, so to speak.
Have you read anything about Ludwig's midnight sleigh rides?
Oh, would that have been something? To be out at night and suddenly see him sweep by with his entourage? They say the night agitated Ludwig, and that being outdoors and the rushing feeling of the sleigh calmed him down. Sometimes even the sleigh wasn't enough. He would stop in some remote woods, order his servants to stay put, and go wandering off by himself for hours. It drove the servants crazy.
Man, that doesn't sound suspicious.
Tell me about Bismarck.
Oh, Bismarck. He was the Prussian Kaiser's chancellor. Not a nice man. Bismarck had a reputation for learning people's weaknesses and manipulating them. It's a matter of record that he had spies on Ludwig's staff. He may even have had a henchman even closer to the king. And he was involved in the conspiracy to declare Ludwig insane.
Did you find out anything about the Black Wolf?
I did. I'd read about him before, but I hadn't realized that was who you were talking about. His name was Godin, Paul Godin. I found a reference to his being called the Black Wolf after you telephoned.
I've never heard of him. Who was he?
Godin lived on the fringes of the Prussian court. He was handsome, charming, dangerous, or so they say. He was variously rumored to have been a foreign prince, a Prussian spy, even an assassin. Since you were interested in him, I found out some things that are probably true. It said he came from abroad in the mid-1800s, but claimed high German blood.
Do you know where he came from?
No. And he was ruthlessly ambitious. He probably found out who held the power, Bismarck, and offered his services. Bismarck was a good judge of talent, of that sort anyway.
So the Black Wolf was actually a guy named Godin. There's like way too many people involved in this thing now. Way too many.
What else do you know about Godin?
He must have done something remarkable. Bismarck was not a generous man. He liked to string people along with promises, but rarely came through. He did for Godin, though. He gave him a royal title and lands in 1863. And that was the last reference I found to him.
Well, how could he just disappear?
It's not that unusual. Back then, when you were given a title, you usually changed your name and moved to a place where no one knew your past, so you could act with impunity, or be a pompous ass and get away with it.
I wish I could do that.
Is there any way to find out what Godin was called after he got his title?
Is it that critical?
It might be.
Well, you could send away for a copy of the entitlement deed, assuming it has been destroyed during one of the wars. Godin's new name would be on it. But you would need a research permit from the government to access those records, and they can be very hard to get. A lot of red tape.
Great. What do you know about Ludwig's hunting accident?
A couple of years ago, I was introduced to this great old man, a real old world farmer. Well, his grandfather was Richard Horning, Ludwig's equestrian. Oh, he told some great Ludwig stories. Sometimes I get lucky. Anyway, he said that after the hunting accident, Ludwig got terribly ill, that he had a fever and was acting crazy. They were afraid that the wolf had been carrying a disease or that the bite had gone septic.
A wolf bit him?
Yeah, it's not so unusual. There were a lot of wolves in the Alps back then. The servants were really worried, but Ludwig recovered, physically anyway. Horning's grandfather said it was the fever that broke Ludwig's mind, that he was worse than ever after that.
What do you mean Ludwig got worse after the accident?
Ludwig always had been a very private person. But after the accident, he got darker, more crazy. Towards the end, he was even forcing his servants to enter his chambers bent over so they couldn't see his face. Horning's grandfather said his temper was fearsome. He would fly into a rage at the least mistake.
Must have been terrified of him.
Yes, well. Horning's grandfather felt sorry for Ludwig, and Ludwig hated his own violence. He was always giving gifts to his servants to apologize.
You mentioned that there were other reasons why Ludwig's servants feared him.
Ah, that's another of Horning's mysteries. There's a story about Neuschwanstein. Apparently there was a period of time of 2 or 3 months when Wagner would come and visit him
Wagner?
there. Yeah. The two would lock themselves in the singers' hall. Horning's grandfather said the sounds that came from there were awful. Well, the servants had superstitious minds anyway. Some of them quit over it, just walked away.
What kind of sounds?
Horning's grandfather called them heartbreaking and ungodly. Maybe it was Wagner trying to sing.
Well, I guess that's all for now. Thanks for your help.
It's my pleasure. And if you ever want to talk again, just give me a call. I'll meet you down.
I will. Thanks.
Servus.
Bye.
Interesting. Lot of information given about Ludwig, Bird, a little about Wagner, and it more entailed kind of what had happened to Ludwig. You can slowly see what's going on. But we can click over here. Ooh, interesting.
I wonder what it felt like under there.
Man, I'm sure it felt like being in the water. But we need to go ahead and leave, so let's go all the way back. And finally go to the place where we were gonna go all the way at the start. Or one of the places Gabriel said to go and check out. The Neuschwanstein Castle. Ooh. A tour tape.
Our tour begins in the entry hall. Ludwig II lived from 1845 to 1886.
He assumed the Bavarian throne at the age of 18 when his father died. Ludwig's passion was building castles. He built 3 during his lifetime: Linderhof, Herrenchiemsee, and Neuschwanstein. Plans for a 4th castle, Falkenstein, were underway when he died. In addition to his obsession with building, Ludwig also had a passion for classical heroic German mythology, a taste he shared with the German opera composer Richard Wagner. Neuschwanstein is decorated throughout with themes from these stories, most of which directly relate to Wagner's operas.
These scenes seem to tell a story, but I have no idea what story.
The paintings in this room are from the Siegfried Saga.
They're from the Secret Saga. Chuh.
These scenes seem to tell a story, but I have no idea what story.
She just told you, see?
The paintings in this room are from the Siegfried Saga.
Duh.
I wonder where that door leads.
I'm guessing somewhere where we can't go. So the next room.
You are now standing in the king's bedroom. The theme of the bedroom is Tristan and Isolde, the tragic love story retold in Wagner's opera. The opera was given its first performance in Munich in 1865, and a 20-year-old Ludwig attended. This is probably the most elaborate and expensive bedroom ever created. It took 14 woodcarvers 4.5 years to create this room. It was this kind of extravagance that bankrupted the king. In the years before his death, he found it increasingly difficult to find money from any source.
So this took 4 years and 14 woodcarvers. That's pretty crazy stuff. See you later, dude with the jacket. Jacket man. Then enter jacket lady.
Did they have running water in 1886? Maybe Ludwig thought all this luxury would help him sleep.
The richly carved bed, with its canopy, resembles a Gothic building and its turrets. The bed's draperies were handmade by dozens of Bavarian seamstresses.
So, Ludwig was very extravagant, which anyone who was royalty would think that they were. But when we come back, friends, there's more of this castle to examine and some more things to do with it. So when we come back, we will continue through it and see what's going on. But till then, y'all take care. And of course, have a good one.